Naturism, in general, is a bit like an airport.
Where does that come from?
Seriously, you have to think about it. For both naturism and airports, it doesn't really matter where you're in the world, the concept is always pretty much the same. There will always be those big screens with the timetables, there are check-in desks, there are gates, there are the electronic belts that make you walk much faster than other people, there are the overpriced beers, and the eventual goal is always that you hop on a plane and get somewhere in the world. And it doesn't really matter where you fly to, if there is naturism, you already know what you can expect. There will be friendly people who don't judge and who enjoy social nudity in a non-sexual way. And if the weather allows it, you can expect that you can spend some time without clothes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. But the concept of naturism may be the same in all those countries, but the way it's been organized can differ. We are Nick and Lens. For the last 5 years, we have been blogging and vlogging about nature's traveling. And now we embarked on an epic journey to experience naturism in every continent of the world. Subscribe to travel along with us. Right now, we are in Africa. We have a fair amount of traveling behind us, and it's impossible to compare one place to another because the local habits and the culture really influence every aspect of life. But the thing is, we are still Europeans, and the European way is baked into our brains.
And from that point of view, we were really spoiled at Dunedin, which was our first nature stop in South Africa, and that resort could just have been anywhere in Europe.
Except for the animals.
Yeah, there are a few places in the world that have impalas or mongoose on their domain. But other than that, Dunedin has a swimming pool, it has a bar, a restaurant, a reception desk, there are accommodations, there are campsite pitches, and if you want to go there, you just pick your dates, you go to the website, fill in the reservation form. It's like the same thing as we have done so many times before anywhere around the world. But from Dunedin, it became more complicated. We are at the moment at a naturist resort called Bird of Paradise, just south of Johannesburg. And the original idea was to come here directly after Dunedin, but when we tried to make a reservation, it wasn't possible. And do you know why? Because they're only open 2 weekends in a month. And that is a concept that is very strange to us Europeans. Like in Europe, either you're open for the season or you're not, but there's not really a middle way.
Other than that, this place could easily be somewhere in Europe.
Definitely.
I will just show you around. This is a campsite area. Birds of Paradise is not really a big resort. The rentals can sleep around 14 people, and obviously, yes, you can camp here. The owners still have a side business, which is landscaping, and you can really see that when you are walking around in the garden. It's beautiful. Everywhere you look, you have these different type of plants and little cozy corners where you can sit. And they have dogs too. Hi! You're gonna be famous. This is the restaurant area, and the owners, they cook regularly, and I can assure you we've been here now 2 days and the food is just absolutely delicious. But if you want to cook your own food, there's also a possibility because they have like a shared kitchen. We're actually doing the tour in reverse because we started at the back and now we're going towards the front. Next to me you have 2 bungalows. I can't show you inside because the resort is full, but obviously they have a bed and a couch and a nice sitting area and obviously, of course, a braai. Remember when I said that this could also be a European resort? Well, this is exactly what I mean. The green really reminds me of the north of Portugal or the north of Spain or definitely Italy. And this brings us to the central area with the pool and the sunbeds. It is a little bit empty at the moment because everybody is having breakfast, and that is exactly what we're gonna do now.
You see, this is what we mean about cultural differences. French fries for breakfast. We are from French fry country and still we don't really know the concept of having them for breakfast. And it's the same thing with the concept of nature's resorts that are only open 1 or 2 weekends a month. It's all about traveling to different places and adjusting to different ways of life. And the next nature's place we're gonna visit is gonna be again a concept that is very unknown in Europe. But before we're going there, we are going to visit another place. So if all goes well, the next shot in this video will be an amazing landscape. How is that for a view? This place literally sums up the little that we know about Africa. You know, in Europe, when we get images of Africa, it's either of extreme poverty or it's the National Geographic type of documentaries and it's mostly savanna and animals. But we had no idea that South Africa has such mountainous landscape. This could be Greenland or Scotland or Iceland, even though I've never been to Greenland or Scotland and only to Iceland in winter when it was all covered in snow. But that doesn't really matter. This landscape, this is not how I thought of South Africa at all. But it's so incredibly beautiful. And another thing that we had no idea about is the weather. It's windy here. The wind is probably caused by the surrounding mountains. That might make it very obvious. But this is not the only unexpected weather that we found in South Africa. In fact, it's mostly the switch between weathers. One day it can be sunny and 35 degrees and hot, too hot to get out of the swimming pool. And then the next day it's just cold and rainy and 18 degrees or 20 degrees and you want to wear clothes as many as possible. And we heard that the parts that we have already visited, it's gonna get worse than that. We heard that in Cape Town you can have the 4 seasons in one day. This is a vulture observatory, but there didn't seem to be any vultures today. We did see a small fox though that was looking for scraps of the carcasses. But anyway, the weather. A lot of reason why there's so much different weather here in the country is because of the different geography and the different altitudes. Like, this is something, it's also something we didn't know. Big parts of South Africa are on altitude. For example, we are now on the border of Lesotho, which is a country that's basically surrounded by South Africa. And in Lesotho, there's not a single place that's lower than 1,000 meters above sea level. One more thing that we always need to get used to when we travel to a different country and especially to a different continent is safety. And this counts for a number of things, especially for crime. South Africa is known as not the safest country in the world, but then again, which country is? But it's the rules for safety that tend to differ from place to place. For example, we have been told not to stop at a random place next to the road. Whereas in Europe, this is something we regularly do.
Yes, to have a pee.
I was gonna say to enjoy the view, but it's right, we often stop to pee along European roads. And it's perfectly fine because there are very few places in Europe where you are not supposed to stop. But safety is not just about crime. There is, for example, also a problem in South Africa with drunk driving. And sometimes it's better to know which roads to avoid at which times of the day or which times of the night. And especially Friday evenings. And then there are the dangerous animals. South Africa is home to pretty much all of the biggest, most dangerous animals in the world. There are rhinos, there are elephants, there are lions, there are jaguars, leopards, you name it. The hippos are also very dangerous. But the thing is, those are mostly in a reserve, and when you drive through one of those reserves, you kind of know that you have to be careful and not get out of the car. It's mostly the smaller animals that are the real threat. Like snakes, for example. They can be very deadly here. There's the black mambo, there's the green mambo, there's the puff adder. And they are spread around the country. They are not within reserves or so. You can encounter them everywhere. So everywhere in South Africa, it's really important to watch your step.
Maybe then just stop vlogging and watch where you're going and watch the actual road.
That is not a bad idea. See you at the end of the trail. That is not bad for a view.
And it gives so much more satisfaction just because you hiked all the way to the top.
We're gonna enjoy this view a little bit further, and then we're gonna hike down with being very careful for snakes.
Yeah.
And tomorrow we're going naked at a resort that's not a naturist resort. If this view seems familiar to you, you're probably right, because we are once again in the Golden Gate National Park. But unlike yesterday, we're not gonna stop this time to look at the viewpoints or to go on a hike. We're just driving through the park because apparently it's the fastest road to our destination. But this is always tricky when you go to new places and when it's the first time that you drive on a road. Because here in South Africa, some roads are absolutely magnificent, while other roads are so full of potholes that you have to navigate through that it just takes forever to get somewhere. And there is always the risk for traffic jams. Literally just when we arrived here it started raining, and now there's thunder as well. Let's just hope that it's only for an hour and not for the whole weekend, because we are planning to spend a lot of time without clothes here. And that is one more difference between Europe and other places in the world. In Europe, if you go to a naturist resort, it's always a naturist resort. But there are places where there are not so many naturist resorts, like South Africa, for example. So what people do is they just, with a group, they rent a whole place. And I think that's really cool, because then you can make literally every place a naturist resort.
Place, yeah.
And you can have so many different kind of places. You just need enough people and just rent the whole place. So we gotta enjoy this. And then our trip through South Africa will continue. We are going towards the coast. So if you don't want to miss that,
make sure to subscribe to our channel, put on your notifications if you don't want to miss anything, and we just see you in our next video.
Bye-bye.
Bye.